Hello, everybody. It's Matthew back with my favorite competition, the LJN, or my favorite LJN tournament. This is round two, the second episode of round two. This would be the 16th episode overall, and it's been a long day for me. I'm just kind of exhausted. Spent the entire day cleaning the house. Fantastic way to spend a Saturday, to be honest. But yeah, it's great to be able to, after a long, hard day, to kind of come back down here and just relax for, 20, 25 minutes and be able to talk about some of these figures with you guys. As I mentioned, this is always very excitable for me. And I'm kind of looking forward to the next round. And based on some of the figures that I pulled off the shelves, originally, I did skip over quite a few Series 4 figures, so I had to come back in episode 11, the 11th video, to kind of recap and bring those figures, back into the fold. As I mentioned, for whatever reason, the video did delete or didn't record properly or what have you. It wasn't showing, so I had to redo Series 4, Heart Foundation, Killer Bees, things like that, as you can recall. So initially, when I did go on the shelves, it looked like the Killer Bees were going to be going up against each other. Fortunately, I do like both figures, so I'm glad that that's not the case, because now it at least gets both characters an opportunity to face someone else and potentially have both of them move forward. So without further ado, I will kick in with the first figure of round 2, episode 2. So the Bruno Cesaro figure. I do have duplicates of this figure, so I have been able to kind of, play with him a little bit just to kind of get a feel for, his playability, and, fighting poses and what have you. Again, as I mentioned, not the worst figure. It doesn't exactly have the most perfect fighting pose, a decent body slam, but again, when you lift the figure up, you're generally hovering right around the groin area. You're not going to do a full over-the-shoulder type body slam, which, again, is always something I look forward when looking at figures and, fighting poses, playability-wise. So this is a really good figure. Decent representation, I think, of the wrestler when you go back and look at past videos. Bruno Cesaro. Not a bad figure at all. I like it. It's simple. Again, decent pose. This isn't something that I would normally play with on a full on scale. Not as a child. Definitely not as an adult. But in this competition, or in this round, he is going up against Don Morocco. Now, again, with a little alteration of colors, this one does appeal to me a little bit more. Hands kind of low, just like Sammartino. Does have a left arm a little bit higher, which does make it, I think, a little bit better for playability-wise. I do not have duplicates of Don Morocco, and again, I don't want to risk damaging any of my figures, paint loss or anything like that. So anyone that I have singles of stays on my shelves, and anyone that I have doubles, I've tried to kind of use them a little bit. Again, I just kind of see what what I'm working with. With this figure, now maybe Sammartino's a bad example to try and body slam because of the way the arms are positioned, but not the best body slam pose. Now, both figures do suffer from those low hands. I'm not a big fan of that pose per se. Kind of reminds me of Ric Flair, Galoob, with the low hands. Oddly enough, the Ric Flair figure is actually, from Galoob, is actually one of the better figures. So overall, two really good figures. I like them both. Not perfect, but I mean, there's definitely far worse as we've gone through these through each video. Because of the extra coloring on Don Morocco, I think I am going to give him the leg up in this competition. At the same time, I've actually been able to use this guy, Sammartino, so it is kind of a little bit more difficult to choose one. But I am kicking out Sammartino, and Morocco is going to be moving forward to the third round. Now, this one is probably going to be, if not the toughest, maybe at least the second toughest of this video. So again, the custom Ricky Steamboat white pants did defeat the custom red pant Steamboat as well as the black pant original Steamboat. Now this is an absolutely fantastic figure. The one kind of benefit I liked about the red pants is that I did have the dragon on the side here. Now these are just simple, flat, solid colors, no extra design on the figure. But what kind of appealed to me is the attachment of the belt and of course the little longer headgear. So and that is a beautiful representation. They didn't really change much. They did alter the hair a little bit to, I think, make it pop a little bit more. It kind of looks more 3D to me. Again, it is a rubber figure, which really helps. Beautiful addition of the accessories with the championship belts. Now, play-wise, again, nothing really was altered on this figure. It is a simple repaint. Well, I don't want to say simple because, again, amazing job, but again, they didn't alter the arms or anything like that. Not a huge fan of the pose. I don't want to say this is, as far as play-wise, one of the worst, but I think he would probably crack, if not the top 15, maybe top 20, and I think that's really pushing it. Is it possible to be on the top 10? Really going through the figures, I'd probably have to say that a lot of managers potentially could be in the top 10 list. And if I were going off wrestlers only, maybe top 10, top 12 possibly. Again, I kind of use the head, kind of like where he grabs the wrestler by the top of the head and kind of slams them face forward into the mat. So that's kind of like a finishing move for me. There's just not much other than he could do. You can't really punch or clothesline, and maybe you could do a DDT or something with the pose that you got set up, but beautiful figure as far as display purposes. Playability, very limited. Again, you got to use your imagination to pretend to do body slams and pretty much anything else, but great figure, just not a good pose. Now, he does go against SD Jones. The Hawaiian shirt SD did defeat the red shirt SD in round 1. I just love the colors. It just pops a whole lot more. And SD Jones does have possibly one of the top 10 fighting poses of any LJN figure. And that includes either, custom, XOX customs, exclusives, or an LJN original figure. I mean, this figure is about as close to mint as you can expect, and to me, that beauty really shapes. It really takes form for me. So I think, knowing how much I love playability and fighting poses, body slam poses, going in, it doesn't matter if you pick him up left arm under, or if you go right arm under. He just has an absolutely beautiful body slam pose. Either slap, push, punch. The man could do anything. This is a fantastic figure. And coming from my good friend Eric, Wrestling Rider, this is one of the best figures I bought from him. And it really hurts to have to send this figure away, especially after only 2 matches. And technically the first match was against himself, so it doesn't really count so much. But this figure cannot defeat SD Jones. This is just a fantastic figure, and like I said, we're not going off of who's our favorite wrestler or anything like that, or what they meant to us as kids. We're just basically basing it off of primarily the biggest factor for me. Again, fighting pose. Being able to throw a punch, body slam is probably the number one factor I look for. We're talking about colors and we're talking about design, and SD Jones has that in spades. This is an amazing figure, and I really think that this one is probably going to go to the bottom 5, bottom 6 figures when the time comes, when the last 5 or 6 matches happen. Can't guarantee it based on what I've seen right now, but I honestly feel like that is a legitimate contender. So the next round is possibly one of my least favorite characters. I was very surprised when Terry Funk made it past round 1. Simply put, he went against a contender that, or a competitor that didn't have as great of a pose as Terry Funk, and Terry Funk doesn't exactly have the best pose. He does this one little, one arm throw, toss over, one arm body slam type of deal. Yeah, you could probably go sideways, kind of throw a little bit of a clothesline, but overall, this is not, my favorite pose. And I think what kind of like sticks out to me, why I don't exactly like this one as much as other people, is because of kind of like the obsession. I see a lot of videos where a lot of commentators are kind of like are really harping on this figure being their favorite or among their best, most played with figure back in their childhood, and it's a good figure. I like it. Like I said, I love all the LJNs. This little chaps and whatnot. It's not bad. I mean, for the most part, it's relatively simple. Not the best figure. And because people's obsession with this figure kind of like detracts from my interest in my guess a little bit. Not the worst pose, but not even in the top 30, top 40, I wouldn't guess. So he did move on, luckily, all by chance in round one. And this round, he is going against one of my all-time favorite people. Doesn't matter if we're talking announcers, managers, wrestlers. Mean Gene Oakland. This is an absolutely beautiful figure, and the pose. Again, he's not expected to be a wrestler. You take the microphone out of his hand. I mean, that's a adequate, body slam. Adequate body fighting pose. Not horrible. Again, you're not really looking at him as a wrestler. So, does he really compare against an actual wrestler that does actually get into the ring? I've used this figure a lot based on wanting to kind of talk to you guys about, his ability to do different fighting attributes. This is really the only figure I have for Mean Gene. Again, when you look at fighting pose, I mean, that right there, light years better than Terry Funk. But is it good enough for Mean Gene to progress forward to round 3 and finally send Terry Funk home after 2 rounds? I'm going to slap myself for this. Love this figure. But no. In this competition, Terry Funk is going to move forward to round 3, which, oh my God, that gives me such a headache just to think about it. Again, this is not one of my favorite figures. I don't really know too much about the character himself. I do remember probably watching maybe 2008, 2010, going back and watching the old Royal Rumble and watching Terry Funk enter the ring. Wasn't too impressed, but I mean, we're talking about an older man, probably was in his 50s or even older than that even. Decent figure, not great. Not crazy about it. Wish he had different competition and we could have moved on, but Terry Funk moving on to round 3. Now this one is actually really going to suck. Another Wrestling Writer figure, the custom Corporal Kirchner. This is the Navy version of Corporal Kirchner. Absolutely one of the best figures in my entire collection. I mean, just the coloring alone is absolutely fantastic. Now you're basically just swapping out black and green for light blue, dark blue, and of course I'm not sure if that's teal or what color that is on the shirt, and of course the beret as well. This is the clean-shaven Corporal Kirchner. Of course, as I mentioned in the first time around, he does have the little sideburns, which are, I don't think is on the original figure. So that's a nice little inclusion. Kind of like Terry Funk, one arm up. He can do a few things, but not exactly the best fighting pose. Display-wise, sitting on a shelf, this is a fantastic piece. Absolutely love it. Not so much a huge fan of the pose itself, but a great figure nonetheless. Now he is going up against Freddy Blassie. I did say that Freddy Blassie was a dark horse in my competition. A manager, I don't know, 60s maybe, with the representation of this figure. Again, as far as fighting pose, one of the top 10, easy. Well, now we're putting him against, Stud and Andre and Hogan, Volkov, SD Jones, Kamala. This maybe even higher, maybe number 6 or 7 as far as pose goes. And when you're taking two figures that I really like, one which is a custom, which is absolutely fantastic, and one with the fighting pose that I actually look forward to. And again, I do have duplicates, so I do use him in the Royal Rumbles when I've had my matches. Sadly, I don't get the opportunity to really use him much. I generally bring him in somewhere towards the middle or towards the end of the Rumble, and he normally gets tossed out within a few minutes. And it's not so much that I don't enjoy playing with this one, because I think this is a fantastic figure. I just, because of I'm a manager, 60-plus-year-old manager, I just don't, realistically, see him, lasting long in a match because of that reason. So when we are putting two great figures, who do we choose? Do we choose the beautiful custom, or do we choose the figure that has a better playability in my eyes? We've already eliminated one Wrestling Writer figure this round. In this video, do I dare do it a second time? Love this figure, but yes. Freddy Blassie is my dark horse, and I think this one is probably going to go to, at least a couple rounds more. I just think this is a really fantastic figure, and I hate to see him not get the recognition he deserves. And again, we're not talking Freddy Blassie, the manager. We're talking, or the person. We're talking the actual figure that you can actually use as a wrestler if you want to. Freddy Blassie moves on to round 3. And so the last matchup, again, when I first pulled these figures off the shelf, I initially had both the Killer Bees going against each other. As you remember, the B. Brian Blair figure, the Killer Bee version, defeated the custom, which was kind of an unfair competition because the custom figure wasn't finished, so there was a lot of paint loss or a lot of bleeding on the figure. Just it wasn't the best custom, or definitely not the best figure at all that I have in my collection. And Jim Brunzell, the custom figure with the singles gear, did defeat his counterpart in the Killer Bee outfit. So I wasn't looking forward to having them square off against each other. Luckily, going back to video 11 and realizing that, hey, I missed a bunch of figures from Series 4. So I was able to backtrack to one of the winners from previous videos and able to match him up with one of the Killer Bees. So this does give both Killer Bees option the ability to potentially move forward. So this is, again, one of the figures I acquired from Move Over Swanson on eBay. Color-wise, absolutely fantastic. Love it. I was, as I mentioned, disappointed that it was Dynamite Kid that moved forward and not Davey Boy Smith. To me, Davey Boy was really the only British Bulldog I ever knew about growing up. And of course, Davey Boy is a much better figure overall. At least, facial-wise, he is a little bit taller. As far as fighting-wise, I mean, again, they're just characters, figures that mirror each other. So even though I love Davey Boy Smith a whole lot more, the one benefit that this figure, that Dynamite Kid, does possess is the right arm up. And I don't know, maybe I just like the right arm body slam better than the left arm. I mean, they're identical figures, just, mirrored each other. So it does have, again, beautiful coloring and writing on the pants. I mean, those boots are just absolutely amazing. Great figure, just a bad pose. Can't really do much with that from a fighting standpoint. Going against the first Killer Bee, B. Brian Blair. Again, both figures do have an XOX Customs. Random Treasures belt. Again, I get Random Treasures get tag team belts for all the original tag teams. Killer Bees, the Heart Foundation, the British Bulldogs, and who else did I put on there? Oh, I'm pretty sure I got a couple other on there. I want to say Powers of Pain might be another one. I put them on there. But again, a beautiful figure. Again, very simple. Just a bumblebee colors, black and yellow. But a much better fighting pose. Not a huge fan, again, with the arms being down like that. But play-wise, light years better than the British Bulldogs. And I think it is pretty obvious before we even brought these two figures up that B. Brian Blair was going to move forward past the British Bulldog. Surprised he made it past the first round, but he is not going to make it past the second round. Killer B. Brian Blair does push forward to round 3, and it's just a great figure. I like this one a lot. So, not too much to talk about today other than going over some of these figures again. So I will come back, if not tonight, definitely tomorrow with at least another video, maybe 2. Try and get this one right here put up tonight, and that way you guys get to enjoy this episode 16. I don't know if I want to keep labeling it, each video by episode, or if I want to, separate it, round 2, episode 1, round 2, episode 2, and so on. For now, I'll probably keep it in order, 15, 16, and move it forward, keep going. And all the LJN tournament rounds, regardless of what round it is, will just be in numeric order for easy access and, for people to easily be able to follow each video. So, let's see if I do have a quick list for you, which will be in the next competition, or the next matchups. Alright, so we did make it back to Past Dynamite Kid. Alright, so the next one is going to be Custom Hercules takes on Custom Coco Beware. The Custom Patera will take on Kamala. Harley Race will take on Bam Bam. Bam Bam Bigelow. And looks like Smash will be taking on the Custom Honky Tonk Man. Now that's actually 2 very good customs right there, and I am not looking forward to that matchup because, again, I want them both to kind of progress as far as possible. But those will be the next 5 matchups, and again, if not tonight, I will definitely be back possibly early to mid-afternoon tomorrow with the next video. Thank you for watching, everyone, and good night.